In the era of Marvel fatigue, the apparent twilight of superhero movies, with box office bombs, questionable TV shows, and desperate attempts at reviving once glorious franchises,
New mask. Same task.
Deadpool and Wolverine recently came to the rescue, just in time, blew up the box office, and gave the fans some of that sweet, sweet hit of nostalgia. While I would question that the movie alone is enough to quote-unquote save Marvel, seeing Hugh Jackman in that suit and meeting some of the guest appearances that I won't spoil made me want to get back to some X-Men comics and start my annual rewatch of classic X-Men movies. X-Men is just special. The comics, the movies, the cartoons are all iconic. What made them stand out, especially the movies, is that they weren't just superhero stories about a good guy and a bad guy, with a galactic threat getting defeated in a heroic feat to save the world. The characters are all flawed, interesting, and more human than most actual human characters in superhero movies. Magneto is a better villain than the whole roster of disposable MCU villains combined. The X-Men are all intriguing characters with unique struggles, battling their own demons each. But most importantly, they make sense as a team. What's more, they feel like a family, as most of them are outcasts, which makes it easier as an audience to genuinely feel and root for them, to really understand their motivations and losses. This relatability is the key to why the X-Men work as a franchise. The original trilogy was a huge part of my childhood, yes, even The Last Stand. But the one I kept rewatching again and again as a kid was X-Men 2, or X2 Electric Boogaloo. Just kidding, it's X-Men United, but let's just stick with X-Men 2. So sit back and enjoy this trip down memory lane, and let's dive into what made X-Men 2 so special and memorable. Also, why not subscribe in the meantime? It takes just a second and helps me out a lot. We are almost at 500 subs, which is amazing.
The war has begun.
X-Men 2 is the perfect sequel. It does everything a sequel should do and more in spectacular fashion. It expands the characters, has better action and bigger stakes, but maintains intrigue, makes the heroes work together with villains, shaking up the status quo, and introduces a common, new enemy that is well fleshed out and connected to the storyline enough for the sequel not to feel contrived. The characters we already know and love get more backstory and emotional weight to them. But it's not bland exposition. It is built into the story basically seamlessly. We learn more and more about Jean Grey's powers, and we see her struggle keeping it together sometimes, with indications like her getting overwhelmed with the thoughts of others or redirecting missiles. Just subtle foreshadowing, instead of a cliché scene of Professor X talking about Dark Phoenix to the audience or something. Wolverine's Weapon X past is not one glorified flashback scene. His story is sprinkled throughout, maintaining mystery and intrigue. We get mere hints as the villain William Stryker is introduced. And what a great villain he is. He's no Magneto for sure, but that's fine because we get Magneto as well. Stryker is an actually smart villain. He orchestrates an attack on the president to garner political support for his cause. His methods are ruthless, he uses personal ties to get information, and has a clear motivation for his genocidal tendencies. And that motivation is important, as a villain who the audience understands will always be a better villain than a far-fetched monster with a god complex. He uses his own mutant son, who he blames for his wife's death, to mess with Charles's head, which not only shows Stryker's brutality, backstory and failure as a parent, it shines light on the professor as well, and makes him look a bit more down-to-earth and vulnerable. We learn that he did fail in some way at least one of his students. We see him tearing up in a vision where he walks again. And even when he is used by a villain to kill others, in his head he is just trying to help another lost child. X-Men 2 brings out the professor's humanity and weaknesses. The movie also has some amazing on-screen rivalries. We have Iceman vs Pyro constantly one-upping each other, Wolverine vs Scott who keep on bickering and fighting for Jean, and of course the Professor and Magneto, just one of the best duos in comic book history. And Magneto really gets to shine here. His escape from the plastic prison is one of the coolest scenes put on the screen to date. He casually stops the falling jet from crashing, and has great chemistry with the whole cast. He keeps getting under people's skin to recruit them for his cause, and he makes a pretty good case usually.
You are a god among insects. Never let anyone tell you different.
Yeah, he does kind of slip at the end and tries to murder every single human alive, but oh well, it's just Magneto things at this point. And also it's hard to fault him after almost all mutant brains got turned into baby food by Charles. Everyone else also works in this movie. Rogue and Bobby bring some great dynamics and emotional backdrops for the story. Nightcrawler not only delivers a great opening sequence, he is actually a very unique presence with his mysterious skin, past and mannerisms. He also works well with Storm, who shows some humanity but more importantly brings literal hurricanes and thunderbolt strikes, and is just all around awesome. The only outlier is arguably Cyclops, who is kind of a jealous buffoon in these movies, but at least he's cool and played well, which is pretty hard considering he has goofy sunglasses covering half his face. While Logan is clearly the protagonist of the movie, and let's face it, the other X-Men movies as well, I can't fault the creators for it. Hugh Jackman is just the epitome of charisma. He steals every scene, he brings jokes, action, drama, lore, and does all of that equally well. But despite the focus on Wolverine, X-Men 2 juggles a huge cast of characters, unprecedentedly well. It's the best depiction of a team in a superhero movie to date, in my opinion. Justice League, even considering the Snyder Cut, couldn't come close to fleshing out its characters like X-Men. The Avengers needed like 5 movies to set up an ensemble, where the dynamics are enforced and each of the many characters are known and understood by the audience. X-Men 2 did all of that better, with more characters, less movies, and a decade before everyone else.
We'll be watching.
Another thing I love about these movies is how we get glimpses into the everyday lives of mutants. Sure, it's great to see Magneto relocate the Golden Gate Bridge, or Wolverine take apart a bunch of bad guys, but Bobby cooling Logan's drink, or freezing a cup of coffee, Logan putting out a cigar in his hand, some kid watching TV channels with his eyes, and just the sight of students in the X-Mansion going to classes brings a strange sort of realism to this world, full of magical abilities and goofy powers. It also creates immersion, helps us imagine ourselves in this universe, which is a huge driving factor behind the franchise's success. As an example, this is why Harry Potter blew up as much as it did. Every kid could imagine themselves in the wizarding world, going to class, learning spells, which is why they were all secretly waiting for a letter from Hogwarts when they turned 11. I know I did, but I also kept coming up with scenarios in the X-Men world with my friends, where we gave ourselves abilities and ranked the characters based on strength, and debated which X-Men would win a fight against another. I think X-Men 2 is a masterclass in blockbuster storytelling. The character moments, the emotional beats, the moral dilemmas are perfectly juxtaposed by action and comedy, creating an immersive, exciting, and unique experience. And speaking of action, it is actually insane in this movie. Like, not even comparable to the first one, which is great on its own. The set pieces are not only memorable, but keep changing with the character's movements, keeping it fresh and interesting. Almost every set is crowned by an awesome action scene. We started the White House with Nightcrawler's insane assassination attempt, really setting the tone for the movie. This intro is like a statement, letting you know that you are in for a ride and this will be different and the stakes are raised. And plus the special effects actually hold up today, which is quite a feat for a movie more than 2 decades old. Then we have the X-Mansion siege by Stryker's team, with the first real glimpse into Wolverine's berserker rage. This was a defining scene for me. Just the sheer brutality in Jackman's movements and expressions, contrasted by the claustrophobic anxiety of soldiers attacking innocent children at night, and Wolverine's first reunion with Stryker, makes this one of the standout scenes in the whole franchise. And most of these scenes showcase mainly one character's abilities at a time with some support from the others. Firstly, Nightcrawler, then Wolverine. Next we have Bobby's parents where Pyro gets to shine and throw some fireballs. Then the X-Jet sequence with Storm's hurricanes and Jean's telekinesis. And finally, Stryker's underground facility at the dam, which delivers some glorious moments for every single character. It is so satisfyingly built up and the climax delivers on every level. Wolverine vs Lady Deathstrike is a visceral one-on-one. Mystique takes on like 15 bad guys with style. Evil Cyclops fights Jean. Magneto tries to exterminate humanity, again. Everyone has their little moment. And this movie actually kind of pushes the boundaries of the PG-13 rating at times. The only thing separating it from some of Logan's action scenes, for example, is the lack of blood. But Wolverine is stabbing lungs, toes and faces the same way. Lady Deathstrike's death is very gruesome, and Magneto at one point just extracts iron from a god's blood, popping his vessels like nothing. And the finale of Logan and Stryker's confrontation followed by Jean's sacrifice is really just an icing on the cake, putting a perfect emotional and climactic end to a story, while leaving just enough plotlines open for a potential sequel without it being too open-ended, so the movie works on its own as well. I think X-Men 2 is not only one of the best sequels in history, it's one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. Up there with the likes of the first 2 Spider-Man movies, The Dark Knight, Logan, and RoboCop. Don't sleep on RoboCop, it's a classic. And going back to the present, and the inevitable studio reactions to the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, I really hope the takeaway from that movie isn't that we need more multiverse and TVA variants and dick jokes. What made fans nostalgic in the first place watching it is reignited and perhaps even forgotten love for these classic X-Men movies that put characters before franchising, and proper writing before mindless spectacle. Anyway, tell me your favorite classic superhero movie, and let me know which one I should make a video about next time, as this was a blast. So do not be scared of that comment section and tell me all your childhood or adult X-Men stories. And while you're here, why not watch my video on the state of superhero movies today and the rise of the anti-hero? Make sure to subscribe to my channel for a lot more like this in the future, and see you soon.
It's quite common in Wolverines over 40.